කෝඩියෙන් භාගයයි කලක් පවතින අලුත් පෙනුමයි.
Tonight, high gear. 3 million COVID vaccine doses expected in the island in the first 2 weeks of next month. Concrete pledge. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa tells the chief prelates that the chemical fertilizer ban won't be reversed. Pandemic struggles. The Export Development Board chief calls for out-of-the-box thinking to save SMEs.
One of the recommendations is the big apparel sector and other factories will possibly have to think of outsourcing to the SME sector more.
Confidential meeting. SLPP backbenchers plot Basil Rajpaksha's return to Parliament. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Sunday, the 27th of June 2021.
දසනකාන්තී චූර්ණය සහිත ලීවර් ආයුෂ් දන්තාලේපය දත්වල ඇති ප්‍රශ්න 10ක් වළකයි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammik Ekanaik. Now, Sri Lanka is set to take delivery of 1 million doses of the Moderna COVID vaccine within the first 2 weeks of next month as part of a donation by the World Health Organization's COVAX facility. What's more, 2 million doses of Sinopharm vaccine is also expected in the island in the first week of July. This was confirmed by State Minister of Production, Supply and Regulation of Pharmaceuticals, Professor Channa Jayasumana today, who added that 3 other vaccines that the country has not used in its immunisation drive against COVID-19 too will be utilised soon.
Health authorities are currently taking measures to build the first line of defence against COVID-19 through the National Immunisation Drive. As part of that effort, 1.69 million people have been administered with at least one dose from the selection of vaccines, which include AstraZeneca, Sinopharm and Sputnik. The need for being vaccinated has now become more imperative than ever, with the detection of the more transmissible and deadly variant of the virus, the Delta variant, from the country. Health authorities further stress it is imperative that persons over 60 years of age are immunized, since the majority of COVID-related complications and deaths occur concerning this age group. However, within the Colombo municipality, the focus has fallen on those over the age of 70. Colombo Mayor Rosie Senanayake said today that the authority received 10,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine to be administered as a second dose for over 70s.
කොළඹ නගර සභා සීමාව තුළ අපි මේ වෙනකොට ලක්ෂ 2කට කිට්ටු වෙනත් ප්‍රමාණයක් ජනතාවට ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා. සිනෝෆාම් 90000කුත් ඒකේ දෙවන මාත්‍රාවත් අපි ලබා දීලා ඉවරයි. ඇස්ට්‍රාසෙනිකා 1,90,000කට ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා. අපිට මේ වෙනකොට ඉතාමත් සුබවාදී ලෙස මම පණිවිඩයක් දෙන්න කැමතියි ජනතාවට. ඇස්ට්‍රාසෙනිකා මාත්‍රා 10,000ක් අපිට ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. දෙවෙනි මාත්‍රාව ලබා දෙන්න සෞඛ්‍ය අධ්‍යක්ෂකතුමා විසින් අපි ඒක ලබා දෙන්නේ අවුරුදු 70න් ඉහළ ඇස්ට්‍රාසෙනිකා පළවෙනි මාත්‍රාව ගත්ත ජනතාවට. ඒ අයට කෙටි පණිවිඩයක් හරහා ඒ අයට ලබා දෙන දිනය ස්ථානීය වෙලාව අපි දැනුවත් කරනවා. එහෙම කෙටි පණිවිඩයක් අරින්න බැරි අයට අපි ගෙයින් ගෙට ගිහිල්ලා හරි දැනුවත් කරනවා.
In the meantime, a professor of oncology points out that receiving both doses of the vaccine gives good protection against the Delta variant. So far, there have been only 5 confirmed cases of the variant in Sri Lanka, all of which are confirmed from the area of Devatagoda. But speculation hovers over 2 other cases in Kotte where the involvement of the Delta variant is yet to be confirmed or ruled out.
We know that this variant is more transmissible, and now from other data we have, we know that it's more than 60% more infectious than the previous variant that was circulating in the UK, the so-called Alpha variant. So it is a much more infectious virus, therefore it's easier to catch and easier to spread. Full vaccination, that's 2 doses of the vaccine, is very protective against this Delta variant. So what we need to do is get as many people fully vaccinated as soon as possible.
There was more good news for Sri Lanka's vaccination drive today, with State Minister of Production, Supply and Regulation of Pharmaceuticals, Professor Channa Jayasumana saying that 1 million doses of the Moderna vaccine will reach the island within the first 2 weeks of next month as part of a donation from the World Health Organization's COVAX facility.
ඇත්තටම අප එන්නත් කරන වැඩපිළිවෙල ඉදිරි සති කිහිපයේදී වේගවත් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම ජූලි මාසයේ පළවෙනි සතිය අපිට සිනෝෆාම් එන්නත් මාත්‍රා ලක්ෂ 20ක් ලැබෙන්න නියමිතයි. ඒ වගේම ෆයිසර් එන්නත් මාත්‍රා 26000ක් පළවෙනි සතියේදී ලැබෙනවා. එතෙන් සිට ජූලි මාසය තුල ෆයිසර් එන්නත් ලක්ෂ 2කට ආසන්න ප්‍රමාණයක් ලැබෙන බව අපිට තහවුරු කරලා තිනවා. ඒ වගේම ස්පුට්නික් එන්නතත් ජූලි මාසයේදී අපිට සෑහෙන ප්‍රමාණයක් ලබා දෙන බව මේ වෙනකොට නිෂ්පාදකයා දන්වලා තිනවා. ඒත් එක්ක මීට පෙර ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පාවිච්චි නොකළ එන්නත් වර්ග 3ක් බොහෝ විට අපිට පුළුවන් වෙයි ජූලි මාසය තුල පාවිච්චියට ගන්න. ඒ තමයි ෆයිසර් එන්නත, මොඩර්නා එන්නත සහ චීන සිනෝවැක් එන්නත. ඒ වගේම අද දවසේ අපිට ලෝක සෞඛ්‍ය සංවිධානයේ කොවැක්ස් වැඩපිළිවෙල මගින් තහවුරු කරා මොඩර්නා එන්නතේ මාත්‍රා ලක්ෂ 10ක් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට ප්‍රධානයක් හැටියට ලබා දෙනවා කියලා. එතකොට මොඩර්නා එන්නතත් අප හිතනවා ජූලි මාසයේ පළවෙනි සති දෙක ඇතුළත පාවිච්චියට ගන්න පුළුවන්කම ලැබෙයි කියලා.
Meanwhile, yesterday 30,795 persons were administered with the first dose of the Sinopharm vaccine, while a further 4,957 persons were given the second dose of the same jab. What's more, the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine was also administered to 50 people, while 62 received the second dose of the Russia-made Sputnik vaccine. In the meantime, a decision has been made by the government to vaccinate all persons leaving the country for foreign employment. The Foreign Employment Bureau of Sri Lanka requests the migrant hopefuls to call the hotline 1989 to receive further information on the matter. As for yesterday's COVID caseload, the epidemiology puts the number at 1,825. The Western Province confirmed the highest number of cases with 936. The Gampa district topped the district-based list of daily infections with 407. At the bottom of the list is the Puttalam district with just 3 cases. The country also had 24 imported cases included in yesterday's caseload.
කොළඹ නගරය තුලින් අපිට සාමාන්‍යයක් හැටියට දිනපතා රෝගීන් 60ක් පමණ අපි සොයා ගන්න ලබනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම පළමු පෙළ ආශ්‍රිතයින්ගේ PCR පරීක්ෂණ සහ අහඹු ලෙස සිදු කරන්නා වූ PCR පරීක්ෂණ තුලින් 60ත් 75ත් අතර පහුගිය කාලෙදී ඒක 140ට වගේ ගියා.
Today saw 2,158 additions to the country's overall COVID recoveries, taking the tally to 218,998. According to the Health Promotion Bureau, the island nation's recovery rate currently stands at 86.99%. As for today, 1,245 new COVID cases have been confirmed so far, placing the country's active cases at 31,093.
ගෙදරකට තේ හදනවා කියන්නේ වෙනම වැඩක්. මැලිබන්තේ ගෙදර පදමට තේ.
In the meantime, the National Transport Medical Institute is set to recommence services tomorrow. The services will only be available for those who have already made appointments through e-channeling. However, the branches of Verahara, Polonnaruwa, Nuwara and Kalutara will not be in operation. The NTMI said that those who had made appointments at the said branches will be informed of another date and time for an appointment in due course. Moving on with other local stories, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that he will not reverse any decision taken pertaining to ridding Sri Lanka of chemical fertilizer. The head of state made the remark when he called on the chief prelate of the Askiriya chapter during his visit to Kandy.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa engaged in religious observances at the temple of the sacred tooth relic last evening. The head of state then called on chief prelate of the Malvatta chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatu Ave Sri Sumangala Thera at the Malvatta temple. President Gotabaya also inspected the monastery at the temple, which is being constructed by the Sri Lankan Navy for Deputy Chief Prelate Venerable Dimul Kumare Vimaladhamma Thera. Meanwhile today, the President called on the Chief Prelate of the Asgiriya chapter, Most Venerable Varakagoda Jnana Ratana Thera at the Asgiriya temple. Meanwhile, in discussion with the Thera, President Gotabaya said that he will not reverse any decision made with regards to moving ahead with organic fertilizer. Further, the head of state said that over $400 million, which is being spent annually for the import of chemical fertilizer, can be distributed among the farmers in the country. President Gotabaya had then visited the Gatame Rajopavanaramiya temple and called on its chief incumbent Venerable Kappetiyagoda Sri Vimala Thera.
A confidential meeting involving the backbenchers of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was worked off in Colombo today. 35 parliamentarians had attended the meeting, and during it, a proposal had been adopted to the tune that SLPP national organiser Basil Rajpaksha should enter parliament. The development comes at a time when there are being reports recently that Basil Rajpaksha would take oath as an MP within the coming days. The reports speculate that he will also be appointed the Minister of Economic Development. Today's confidential meeting was worked off at the residence of MP Pramita Bandara Ternakon. 4 inmates held at a holding cell at the Kurunegala Magistrates Court had escaped this morning. Even though the police managed to arrest one of them, the other 3 are still at large. Meanwhile, a prison spokesperson said today that inmates who engage in protests on rooftops will not be recommended for pardon.
A group of death row inmates at the Valikada and Mahara prisons launched a hunger strike on the 24th of June, demanding that their death sentences be commuted to life imprisonment. Subsequently, some inmates at the Valikada prison who aren't on death row also started a protest atop the roof of the chapel ward in support of the protesting death row inmates. With that being the case, several death row prisoners at Valikada too took to the roof to protest and is still underway. Meanwhile, condemned inmates at the Valikada, Busa, Mahara and Ududumbara prisons have also joined the hunger strike. However, prison spokesperson Commissioner Chandaneka Nayaka said that the Department of Prisons decided not to recommend any inmate protesting atop roofs in violation of the disciplinary code for pardon. In the meantime, 4 prisoners under remand custody had escaped while they were held at the Kurunegala Magistrates Court holding cell. The inmates had made their escape this morning. However, one of the escapees was apprehended in the area of Vallava. The remaining inmates are still at large. The police say that investigations are underway to arrest them.
A mugger crocodile, also known as a marsh crocodile, was found at a residence in Habarnagama today. The 9 or more like 8.9 foot reptile was captured by officials of the Department of Wildlife and was taken to the area of Rambavila within the Minneria National Park. Mugger crocodiles can grow to around 10 feet in length and is a freshwater animal. It can also weigh up to 1,000 kilograms. The species is threatened by habitat destruction due to agricultural and industrial expansions. A survey showed that the world's biggest population of mugger crocodiles is found within Sri Lanka's Yala National Park. We will see you on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the apparel sector showed incredible resilience during the first and second waves of COVID-19, and it continued that in the first 5 months of this year as well. However, the impact of the third wave, or impact the third wave will have on the industry, is unpredictable, with it dealing another body blow to the already hard-hit SMEs in the apparel sector. To mitigate the situation, Chairman of the Export Development Board, Suresh Dimel, believes that out-of-the-box thinking is needed. As is suggested, large-scale factories outsource more to local SMEs.
Sri Lanka's apparel sector is one of the chief contributors in generating export revenue. The fact of the matter is that it contributes around 44% of the national export revenue. The products are manufactured and exported with the flexibility of catering to specific seasons to of many countries around the world, and countries such as the US and the United Kingdom have historically been the largest buyers of Sri Lankan apparel throughout the decades. In the year 2019, the apparel sector recorded a staggering $5.56 billion in exports out of $11.9 billion in total merchandise export earnings. However, the COVID-19 pandemic affected Sri Lanka and brought the entire apparel sector of the country to a standstill last year. What's more, the sector lost its productivity for some time as a result of the island-wide curfews imposed to curb the virus spread during the first wave.
That put the employers also who were operating in a challenging position because the workers were having trouble coming to work, the travel restrictions, lack of transport, and the fear of coming to work also from the labor force. When the government quickly announced that it was very important that the apparel sector and other factories, especially the exporters, were to get back into operation as soon as possible. We managed to get back to some operational level. Obviously, the productivity and the production was low, but surprisingly, there was a lot of resilience in the industry.
What's more, factory operations last year also became challenging with the adherence to health and safety protocols and having to cooperate with the minimum staff since the country was affected with another COVID-19 wave in October. However, the sector once again showcased its resilience despite 2020 being affected by the pandemic, as sector earnings stood over $4.4 billion, down by around $1.2 billion when compared with 2019. Meanwhile, operations within the first 5 months of 2021 were in full swing. In that time, the apparel exports brought in over $2 billion. During the same time, the total merchandise earnings stood at around $4.6 billion. However, the third wave could well have taken its toll on the apparel sector.
I think this third wave, the feeling is that 50% of productivity is what we are thinking at this time. The export earnings from January to April looked like it was on target, and we would have been able to achieve $1 billion more this year. However, after May, I think it's going to be a challenge, and we don't know how long this is going to continue. So I would like not to make any predictions at this time.
In any case, whenever there are disruptions, the first to be affected are the small and medium-scale enterprises. Some small-scale businesses in the apparel sector had to close, while others struggled to stay afloat throughout the pandemic. The government, however, intervened and provided very low-interest loans and moratoriums on loan payments, along with a raft of other reliefs to provide some respite. But at some stage, the relief will have to come to an end.
Going forward, I think we are going to need to think out of the box on how these SMEs are going to pay back their loans, because I don't think it's going to be very easy. And I think one of the recommendations I have is that the big apparel sector and other factories will possibly have to think of outsourcing to the SME sector more, because we can't allow the SME sector to collapse. So I think I would encourage the bigger garment factories to think of how they could use the SME sector and help the SME sector to get back to speed post-pandemic situation, or even now during this time when we are struggling. We need to be able to share our resources and help the SME sector. And I think with the vaccinations coming, it's fairly important that we quickly vaccinate the factory workers because they are quite vulnerable.
Now, as a fresh week is about to start at the Colombo Bourse from tomorrow, profit-taking or consolidation is expected during the week ahead. The all-share price index ended at 7,809.15, following a gain of 67.01 points last Friday, while the S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks gained 13.03 points to end at 3,042.63. Now, here's Dimantha Matthew to tell us what we can expect at the market in the coming week.
We feel that there could be some sort of profit taking or consolidation that may take place in the market at these levels, but something interesting to note is that we are seeing investors being interested in the blue chip counters led by the large big cap counters. This is a rather positive sign, so that could continue the drive in the market as well. So on the buying side, we feel that we continue to think that the banking sector is likely to be the leader in the segment, and as usual the retail sector counters, especially the dollar income companies, are the ones that are leading the turnover levels, and there's no reason why it needs to change because we are seeing sort of a bit of a weakness in the rupee. So there is likely to be more buying interest coming into these set of counters. In addition to that, we expect the insurance sector to counters to be more active in a slightly interest rate rising market at the moment.
We will see you shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, the death toll at the site of the Florida building collapse rose to 5 as community members rallied together as rescue workers and methodically searched for more than 150 missing people. A steady stream of community members paid their respect at the makeshift memorial with flowers, photographs of the missing and loving notes. Friends and family members hugged and prayed that the missing will be found alive. A newly released 2018 report showed that an engineer found evidence of major structural damage beneath the pool deck and concrete deterioration in the underground parking garage of the 12-story oceanfront condominium 3 years before it collapsed without warning on Thursday, as most residents slept. Officials say that they still harbored hope that some of the 156 people unaccounted for might still be found alive. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.